Patreon Q&A number 129. I want to thank all 118 of my incredible patrons. Guys, thank you so much for continuing to support me as you have been. And to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers for all of the series I'm going to be talking about, so tread carefully. Joe D asks, it doesn't seem like My Hero Academia is ending anytime soon after all, and if anything, the real story seems like it's just getting going. What do you see being the next couple of arcs in the series, and where is it all heading? So I wouldn't say that it doesn't seem like it's ending anytime soon. You never really know with these mangakas. So I really wouldn't get my hopes up with any of these series, honestly. And at this point, I really wouldn't be surprised if the next arc of My Hero is the last one. I'm not saying it's going to be, but considering how things are, you know, there could maybe only be like 1 or 2 arcs left. Like maybe the next arc is like a training arc or something, and then after that, it's just the final arc of the series. But don't get me wrong, of course, I would love it if there's like, you know, 5 or even more years of My Hero after this point, but you just never know. But as for what the next arcs of My Hero could be, or just the next arc in general, it's really up in the air right now, and it's kind of hard to say for sure. We're at a very interesting part in the story where I guess nearly anything could happen, because we just got off of the big war, and now we're kind of picking up the pieces on both sides and setting up whatever the next arc could be. And like I said, it's just a mystery. We just got over all of the Todoroki family stuff, and it seems like the conclusion coming out of that was that like Endeavor is going to train with Shoto, and Best Jeanist and Hawks are going to be included in this new team to take down Dabi to some extent. And now recently with Izuku, you know, he's talking to the Vestiges, and Nana just asked him if he can kill Shigaraki, which is of course the end goal of the series essentially. So whatever the ultimate outcome of the discussion that he has with the Vestiges in the next chapter might give us more insight into what the next arc or arcs could be. We also recently found out that there's going to be allegedly some support from like American heroes or just international heroes in general coming over to Japan. So that could possibly play some kind of part in what the future arcs could be. And then on the villain side of things, we have just as many questions because we don't really know what's going on with them. I mean, we saw that Dabi was kind of chilling in that like abandoned house or mansion wherever he was, and maybe he was with the League of Villains because we kind of saw him with them last, like when All For One piloting Shigaraki's body like dropped him off there. But that goes into like, where is All For One right now? Because he was like in one of those plane things that he had hijacked, and it's like, where's he going with his original body? Where are the other prisoners from Tartarus? Where's that new mystery girl? Where's Muscular and Moonfish, and where's Overhaul? You know, there's so many questions with that, which likely will go into what the next possible arcs could be. So if I'm looking realistically at this, I think maybe the next arc will be some kind of training arc for the students or something like that, maybe. And of course, there's always the option for the second sports festival. I mean, any day now, class 1A and 1B, you have to become second years at some point, right? I mean, we're like almost there chronologically. And when that happens, I guess in theory, we would get another sports festival, and I guess also introduced to a new class of freshmen. But there's always the chance that because of the war arc and how things are going on with Hero Society and the public reception to them and everything, they could just be like, hey, the sports festival's canceled this year. I could totally see that happening, so that means there will not be another sports festival arc. So honestly, I'm not really sure. I wish I could give you a better answer. And just everyone else, because your guess is really as good as mine at this point. It's just that there's just so many unknowns right now, but it's also kind of exciting and intriguing at the same time because of that. So for your second question, Blast is not the bearded worker. Okay, but what's going to be the new theory that defines your channel and rallies the troops? Got any new hot takes? So I wouldn't say that there's any theories that define my channel. I'm not really like a theory channel. If anything, I guess I'm like a review channel. But if there is like a big theory that I get behind, for One Punch Man, I guess it could be Drive Knight being the mad cyborg. But honestly, it's like, I don't even really want theories to define me anymore, because it was more fun when my channel was like smaller, but now that I'm less smaller, it's like you can't really even have a theory anymore. You can hardly even have any kind of opinions at all. So if anything, I'd rather just nothing define my channel other than just me as a creator, I guess. And even then, that's already problematic enough. Big Slapper asks, we see in season 2 of the anime Saitama dodging a counter from Suiryu. That leads me to the question, would it be possible for Saitama's attacks to be countered back at him, e.g. making him punch himself, etc.? yeah, I mean, it's totally possible in theory, but the execution of this is a whole other thing. So I don't even think Awakened Garo is capable of doing something like this. I mean, he was able to like dodge and counter Saitama's moves, but not like back at him. So like you would have to be like ridiculously strong to be able to achieve a feat like this, let alone, you know, the skill level. I'll just say that it's definitely possible for this to happen, but I don't think we've seen a character within One Punch Man capable of doing this yet. Delamante asks, how do you think a fight between Yuta and Sukuna would go with current power levels? So this is a great question and hard to say. So obviously Sukuna has, I guess, looked more impressive than Okkotsu at this point. At least like the grandness of his feats, you know, in the Shibuya arc. But Okkotsu saying that he has more cursed energy than Gojo makes me think that maybe he could be somewhat competitive against 15 Finger Sukuna, if not even, maybe even beat him. I mean, of course, he still has the ability to copy cursed techniques, and we don't know what Sukuna's is yet, but still, I guess Okkotsu could copy it. But also, given what we've seen of Okkotsu recently, and we've just kind of gotten a taste of him, you know, in the most recent chapter when he was going against Yuji, it certainly didn't look like somebody that could just immediately defeat Sukuna. But again, I just said it's just a little taste. We haven't seen the full extent of his abilities yet. So I would say he probably would give Sukuna a pretty competitive fight. Possibly way more competitive than what Jogo was giving him, right? Blast41888 asks, from what we've recently seen in the webcomic, do you think Blast abilities will be derived from his suit, and would that disappoint you? So I don't think his abilities are derived from his suit. I think at the most his suit is kind of like a conduit for his powers, if anything. And yes, it would absolutely disappoint me, and I think it would pretty much disappoint everyone. We kind of want Blast to have like an innate type of power, not something that's derived from a suit. That would kind of like deflate him as a character, pretty much. As he asks, granted we haven't seen it, but which attack do you think has the most destructive power between Hanami's Flower Offering and Gon's final Jajaken? So yeah, super difficult to say, but it seemed like Hanami's Flower Offering was gonna be pretty beastly. I mean, it was just gonna, I guess in theory, be just like a shot of like pure cursed energy, similar to what like the Finger Bearers were doing, but on like a much bigger scale. And Gon's final attack that he did to Pito was pretty massive. I mean, just what we were able to see of it in the anime at least. So maybe Hanami's attack would have a similar output, not necessarily saying it would be as strong as it, maybe just the optics of it would look similar somewhat, you know, like the destruction in the forest that it would cause maybe. Dino W asks, so I'm kind of disappointed that Fox Quicksilver turned out to be some dude at the end of WandaVision. Do you think we'll eventually expand on the multiverse, or just make it a throwaway cameo? I hope that they incorporate him back into the story and he's not just some doofus. Yeah, that was kind of anticlimactic. It reminded me of like Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin. I mean, recently it was announced, I'm pretty sure, that they're going to make an X-Men movie called The Mutants. And of course, next year we're getting Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness with Wanda in it. So it's entirely possible that through the craziness of the MCU, this, you know, Bonner guy is, you know, reintroduced and he has Quicksilver's powers possibly, but I don't know, I wouldn't get my hopes up. For your second question, do you think Garo would have liked Avengers Infinity War as his favorite movie? I don't know if it would have been his favorite movie, but I do think he would have liked it. I mean, I don't see why not. Garo's big beef with like the mainstream hero versus villain dynamic in media is that the villain, you know, seemingly can win, but then, you know, the hero gets some plot armor or something and then pulls it out unfairly or something, or they have like a team up or something like that. But Thanos winning and doing so a lot, you know, by himself, and Thanos ultimately thinking that he brought peace to the universe or just created a better universe is not exactly the same thing as what Garo wants, but it's kind of like in the same ballpark, you know? And yes, obviously, Thanos is way more evil than Garo, but I still do think that Garo would probably enjoy that movie. I don't know if it would be his favorite one, though. Legandaryus asks, who do you want as a brother between these people? Kamina, Saitama, Senku, Superman, or Tony Stark from the MCU? Only one. So I'd probably pick Superman. He seems like the lowest maintenance of these characters, and he's probably the strongest too. So yeah, definitely Superman, because he would just be chill and no one would really be able to mess with me because of how powerful he is. Little Ferrari asks, what series do you like more and would recommend to watch / read more between Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen? Definitely Jujutsu Kaisen. I do like Demon Slayer like you say here, but I think Jujutsu Kaisen is like a tier above it in quality. So if you're looking for a series to get into first, or if you just had to choose between the two, definitely go for Jujutsu Kaisen. I think it's the better written series and it's more more compelling as well. Lewis asks, Hero Hunter Garo and Super Fight Tournament Suiryu versus Transform Bug God. This is going to be a good fight, and I wish I could actually see this play out, but I think that Garo and Suiryu could probably pull this one out. Maybe high diff or something. I mean, Suiryu was able to take down what could be considered a demon in Chose by himself, and obviously Hero Hunter Garo could take down demons as well. But obviously Transform Bug God is probably the strongest demon that there ever was, so it likely would be like a high diff for them, but I do think they could get the job done. Second question, if you were to make your own anime, what would it be about, and also what would be your influences? So maybe one day I will make my own anime. It won't be like an anime though. It won't have anything to do with Japanese companies or Japanese people or anything like that. It will be strictly American. But the story, I don't know, it would be something like a fusion between One Piece and My Hero Academia, something like that. So I guess that would go into my main influences. But as for like the tone of it, it would be very similar to like the Harley Quinn cartoon on HBO Max. So basically like an American battle anime, you know, shonen type of show, but like TVMA. I think that would be really cool. Mr.Awsome asks, who wins in a battle between every monster Saitama has ever defeated and the S-Class? Webcomic or manga, you choose. I guess we go with the manga. That has a more interesting roster. So it ultimately comes down to if Blast can defeat Boros, and I'm not really sure at this point. It seems like maybe they're in the same kind of tier of power for sure, but ultimately, I just have no idea until I guess we see more from Blast. And I think Tatsumaki could take care of everyone else he's defeated besides Boros, but then, you know, it just ultimately comes down to him, and then we're gonna need Blast to pick up the heavy lifting there. Second question is, have you ever watched / listened to the One Piece D&D series with a bunch of creators in Tekken 101? I just started listening to it at work, and it's really fantastic. No, I didn't know this was a thing, and honestly, I don't know any of these creators besides Tekken, but it seems like they're doing good work. I mean, if you enjoy it that much, so that's cool. Parkhertruck asks, do you think that Yuji can create his own curse technique, or maybe Toto can even make a new one to replace the Boogie Woogie? So at this point, it's been established that you cannot create your own curse technique. You're only either born with an innate technique, like, you know, like you said, inheriting from your family, or you're just born with it, or you can use techniques that have already been established within like the sorcery world, like Simple Domain or something like that. So at this point, the rules have dictated that you cannot do it. However, Yuji being the MC means that he probably can, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he winds up doing this towards the end of the series or something. Samurai asks, suited Moomin Rider versus tight tank top master versus and Puri Puri Prisoner. So I think Puri and Tank Top would probably take this, mainly because while the one punch of the demon from Moomin Rider was very impressive, Puri has also kind of done something like that, and you know, tight tank top master was going head to head with a dragon. So unless we see more from Moomin Rider that makes me think otherwise, I'm thinking that Puri and tank top could take this. Prime All for One and Prime All Might versus Meteoric Burst Boros. They fight in a secluded area, so everyone is going all out. It doesn't really matter what I say for this, but I don't know. I'm more inclined to think that maybe Prime All for One and All Might could maybe take this one, but I ultimately just will probably never know the true answer to this because there's just not enough to go off of other than just, I guess, what you feel in your heart. And then the last question, who do you have between Max Power Gojo and Gold Experience Requiem? Ah, man, this is another crazy question. In my heart, I feel Gojo can take this, but again, for every person that thinks that Gojo would win this, there's several other people that think Gold Experience Requiem can take it as well. It's like we're saying, okay, which series' magic would supersede the other one? It's like, I don't know. I just think Gojo would probably win because he seems more powerful. Sean H asks, what are your top feats from any non-One Punch Man or Dragon Ball anime? Wow, that's a tough one. I don't know if I can name 5, and also I haven't seen every anime, not even close, or just even every battle anime. The top 5, or close to 1, has to be what happens at the end of Gurren Lagann. Like, I actually talked about this on last week's Q&A, like the Giga Drill something, whatever it's called, when he like sucks up galaxies and becomes like essentially the size of the universe. Like, that's gotta be up there. Snowpeas asks, Prime All Might versus Blast. Hey, I wish I knew. I wish I can answer this question. If I had any idea of what the answer would be, I swear I would give it to you, but I just have no idea because there's just Not enough that I know personally, and I love both of these guys and would like to think that I know that there's everything you can know about them at this point, and even then, I have no idea. Steven asks, Child Emperor and Metal Knight are having a cold war, and now Genos is on the verge of bursting in, cannons blazing. This could be a fight that sets off the whole civil war. Do you think he'll actually attack? That's a great question, and I'm hoping that Genos comes to his senses and, I don't know, maybe it's like, hey, let me get both sides of the story. You know, hey, okay, what you're saying, Drive Knight, I get it, and you're very compelling, but maybe we should also hear Metal Knight's side of things before we just go in guns blazing and trying to take down his entire empire. You know, maybe, you know, just hear what he has to say first. Maybe Genos won't do that, and it seems like maybe he will barge in on Metal Knight possibly, but then again, it's like, how are they even gonna find where Metal Knight is? I can understand if Drive Knight's like, yeah, we've been tracking Metal Knight and we pinpointed where his secret base is. That could always happen. At this point, it seems most likely that Genos will probably bust in there. Not sure if this event will cause the Civil War, because it seems like Metal Knight is neither really like aligned too much with the Hero Association and definitely not with the Neo Heroes at this point. So it would take a different event to cause the Civil War other than this. Tempest asks, what do you think Stinger's disaster level is? So yes, I'm aware of his tiger slaying feats. They are impressive for an A-class hero, but I don't know, just me personally, I've never gotten the sense that he was like demon level. He's never really done anything that has made me think that. Now, could he be low demon? Sure. But I've always kind of rated him as like a high tiger, maybe above tiger at the most, but if you feel he's a low demon, that's fine. I mean, it very likely could be the case. Wolffire54 asks, how do you see Garo versus Bakugo going down? I think Garo would just dominate Bakugo. He has way better feats and seems to be at a much higher level of power than Bakugo. Even Hero Hunter Garo would still be way too much for Bakugo at this point, in my opinion. And your second question is, if hero training Saitama came to the future to meet his present self, do you think he would be more exciting knowing how strong and powerful he became, or more disappointed and upset that in 3 years he becomes a bald, depressed loser whose life really didn't change that much after he got his powers? So that's a great question. I definitely assume that future Saitama would tell training Saitama, like, hey, calm your training down. Don't get to the point of where you lose your hair. Stay at a certain level of power where monsters can still challenge you. Obviously, Saitama's not gonna be like, hey, when dragons can challenge you, because Saitama doesn't think like that. But don't keep training to the point of where you feel like you're gonna die anymore or something like that, because you're gonna become too powerful and nothing is going to bring you joy anymore. It's very possible that training Saitama would be like, okay, I guess I understand what you're saying. Or he could be like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna keep going. I need to become stronger and stronger. So it could ultimately come down to like this battle of conflicting interests, maybe. But that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 118 of my incredible patrons. Guys, thank you so much. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, simply check out the Patreon. The link will be in the description. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.